Well, as you all know, that's why you're here. The trade has been made, and Kawhi and Danny are moving on to Toronto, and DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl are coming to San Antonio.
Free agents don't grow on trees. There aren't guys that are going to just want to sign in Toronto. So if you got a smoking chance and you didn't see what happened with Paul George, that everyone you can say look, I talked to Paul George. Paul let me know he wants to be in L.A. He let everybody know that. It wasn't a secret. And somehow Oklahoma City, and I'm sure none of you saw him staying in Oklahoma City, got him to stay. They underachieved in the playoffs. It wasn't a great-looking team, but you know what he valued? Loyalty. You know what Kawhi doesn't see right now from anyone? Loyalty. He's been thrown under the bus by teammates, from the organization, from the coaches. He's been the bad guy.
The thing is, Paul George has somehow become the ray of hope, the light for all of you faith seekers, that you can do deals that defy all reason and logic and hope. For some reason, in the next year, you can convince a guy who's made it clear to the tune of $100 million he's bypassed to stay in San Antonio, made it clear, I want to be in L.A. And by the way, there are reports he is not happy about going to Toronto. So you keep running Paul George out there as your singular example. I'll take Kawhi at his word. I think Tom is right. I think the Spurs are going home high-fiving, Ryan. I think they can't believe they got this deal.
Understood was money speaks loudly. And the fact that he was willing to pass on a max deal with San Antonio, and it feels like he's willing to pass on a lucrative deal from Toronto to go to Los Angeles. I'm not going to marry myself to the hopes that Kawhi Leonard is going to follow the same path that Paul George followed.
They're not going to be able to sign anybody in Toronto. Here you had a 28-year-old all-NBA player in his prime who committed, who you don't have to worry about free agency-wise to 2021. If you don't like DeMar DeRozan this year after they go and try and get through the East with no LeBron James, then you can always trade him and add assets that way. To me, you're not maximizing DeMar DeRozan's value when you trade him for a one-year guy in Kawhi, and you're not even close to being the best team in the NBA. They need to improve, but they didn't maximize. What is getting Kawhi Leonard for 1 year and then him leaving you next year? What does it get you? It will get you a big.
There's no question this deal comes with great risk for Toronto. In the end, they didn't think they were good enough with the team they had to beat Boston, maybe even beat Philly. And they're rolling the dice on a player who is, when healthy, a top 3 or 4 player in the league. They've got a year now to try to convince him to stay in Toronto the way Oklahoma City did with Paul George. If they lose Leonard in free agency, if he goes to the Lakers as he plans to right now, then they'll very likely start their rebuild in Toronto around young players like OG Anunoby and go that direction. But right now, this is a tremendous risk by Ujiri, and with a healthy Kawhi Leonard, you know, that's a team that can compete with anybody.
I will say this. Toronto is going to be better next year. With Kawhi, with Danny Green, they got much better defensively. They already were a really good team defensively. They got rid of a remnant from being swept the last 2 years in the playoffs. DeMar was their leader. And Danny Green, I think that's a big part of this because he and Kawhi are really good. Look, I'll slightly favor Boston in the East. But I think Toronto is right there with Philly, and they're going to have a good chance in the East. But long term, I think it's lunacy. And I can only come to one conclusion. The general manager, Masai Ujiri, who's a great general manager, he did not want to build long-term around DeMar DeRozan. He would rather rebuild with young players than go pay him 3 years, $83 million for the next 3 years. There is no way I see Kawhi Leonard staying there. Now, I guess maybe if they were somehow to win the finals, maybe. I think even if they got to the finals, I think he wants L.A. I know he wants L.A. He's already upset about it. I think this was crazy long-term on Toronto. We know their history. Big-time American superstars do not want to live there. And if Carter left, Tracy McGrady, Chris Bosh. DeRozan was not – he was a borderline star when he signed that contract, or a star. He's not in the class of the guys we
DeMar
mentioned.
DeRozan is not a superstar. Okay, he's a fringe star player, but you gave him up for basically a rental. Kawhi's not resigning. 98, 0.54% that Kawhi will not re-sign in Toronto.
I think it's even higher.
Okay, how about 99.9? So nothing's 100%. But if Kawhi re-signing with them is close, not re-signing with them is as close as a sure thing as you could possibly get. You want to rebuild? You're going to rebuild, but somebody else is going to be rebuilding. So let me get this straight. The coach of the year is gone. You're going to sign, you trade DeRozan for Kawhi. Kawhi going to be gone after the season, and then what? And you think the owner going to say, oh, yeah, you did a good job?
This is a mistake. Because they about to fall off the map in a few years.
So, first of all, I'm going to talk about my San Antonio Spurs because this is not a good deal for my Spurs. But at least they got something. They did not get it. He's a near star at best. I've never, and I'm not being a hypocrite about this. I'm on the record for years on this show and the other show, not a DeRozan fan. He's not that guy. One guy, Kawhi, quit on his team for the whole year, but the other guy quit against LeBron in that round of the playoffs. He's just not that guy. Right. He's the face of our franchise. He led us in scoring the last 7 straight years. He made 4 All-Star teams. He's not that guy who can take you home. He's averaged 20 points a game for his whole 9-year career, which is pretty good. Yep. But they're always a quiet 20 to me. Right. That's just to me. And again, when I'm rooting against Toronto, I just don't ever fear him. It's a city that will embrace Kawhi. Whether he's going to embrace back or even try, I don't know. But my point is, Messiah's thinking, I got a chance. If you give me those 9 months, I got a chance. And I got Drake on my side, and I'm not laughing about that because Drake is more part of the Raptors. They're the Drakes, man. I mean, he's courtside a lot of nights, not every night, but a lot of nights. I'm going to wipe my slate clean. I'm going to start over with Kawhi Leonard and with Nick Nurse. I don't know anything about Nick Nurse. I don't know if who knows how he'll be. He was a good D-League coach, like Phil Jackson.
I like Nick. I think he'll be all right.
All right. So then you just see if you can plunge. There's no LeBron. All of a sudden, to your point, it opens up a little more, if not a lot more. You got Kawhi Leonard, and you still got Lowry, and Van Vliet was coming off the bench as your fire starter and your second-team guy. But you got a shot to
DeMar DeRozan met with Toronto officials last week at the Summer League in Vegas, and they assured him, we are not trading you. We promise you. We love you. We're not trading you. And what did Toronto do? Trade him. He went to his Instagram account. DeMar DeRozan says, be told one thing, out come another. Can't trust him, ain't no loyalty in this game. Sell you out quick for a little bit of nothing. Oh, by the way, Kawhi Leonard didn't want to play in San Antonio because Pop called him out. And so what does San Antonio do? They trade him to the one NBA franchise you know he doesn't want to play for. The one NBA franchise not in the United States, Canada, Toronto. Grudge-holding Popovich sends Kawhi packing. And you'll want to know why I defend stars. Can't trust owners, can't trust GMs. DeMar DeRozan's like, I like Canada. I like Toronto. Diverse city, cool people. Upscale, urban, I like it. And they promise him, we're not trading you 2 weeks ago. What do? Trade him.
It is Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green for DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, who's an okay rotation player, and this year's first-round pick that is protected 1 through 20, and if it doesn't convey, turns into 2 seconds. So San Antonio has a 0% chance of ever getting a top 20 draft pick out of a trade of Kawhi Leonard. They also are not getting who I would argue one of the Raptors' 4 best young players. They're not getting Anunoby. They're not getting Van Vliet. They're not even getting Siakam. DeRozan. And people don't know. They said at Summer League they met with him. We're not trading you. And then they traded.
DeRozan was the best player based on all the rumors that was offered. The Lakers weren't offering anything like that. I wouldn't get caught up into, these guys are best buddies and everything.
Him and Kyle Lowry?
I mean, they're best friends and everything, but both of them have guaranteed contracts. He works for the organization, the same organization that just traded his buddy. And just the way they lied to his buddy, they could lie to him. So for me, it would put me on red alert.
I think this is a great move for Toronto. They kept their young players. They added a guy who's either the second best player in the Eastern Conference. They won 59 games last year. They can now go for their first NBA Finals. They can go for it to make their first NBA Finals in the history of the organization. And then if Kawhi leaves, and he's going to leave in a year, we would assume, you're off DeRozan's money. You have a bunch of expiring deals. Danny Green, who you got in the trade, his deal is expiring this year. Lowry, Ibaka, and Valanciunas' deal expires in 2 years. You can go rebuild. I like this move for them from just a 10,000 feet perspective. Vince Carter left us. Tracy McGrady left us. Chris Bosh left us. 2 weeks ago, they tell him he's not going anywhere. He's the best player on their team, 4th best player in the history of their franchise. They've only had 4 guys that I would say are at this level, and 3 of them couldn't wait to leave. Vince played his way out of there. Tracy wanted to leave. Bosh, I don't think, was desperate to leave, but left for a better situation.
This is the thing for DeMar, right? This is a part that's tough. The first breakup is always the hardest. The first breakup is always the hardest when you don't see it coming. I played for the Nets for 6 years, maybe. We won 4 division titles, went to the playoffs every single year, went to 2 NBA finals, and I found out from a kid at my basketball camp that I just got traded. And this kid goes, hey, my dad just said you got traded to Milwaukee. And I was like, what? And then like 2 minutes later, my phone rings, right? That emotion, you carry that with you a long time. So for him that has committed so much, be drafted by them to accomplish what he has accomplished. And I was never the player that DeMar DeRozan is, but that first breakup.
If you just were to have left the Raptors as they were, okay, you changed the coach, which looked ridiculous when he wins Coach of the Year. But they were the 1 seed last year. The world has basically moved Boston and Philly past them, maybe because we tend to overlook Toronto. But in the absence of LeBron James in the East, were the Raptors, as currently constituted, I guess as they still are for this moment, not capable of coming out of the East and making the finals?
They've taken them as far as they thought. Last year was supposed to be different.
It's just
a great bench, but take the pressure off DeRozan and Lowry. What happened? Both those guys did not play well enough in the playoffs. Now you can't tell me DeRozan's the same player as Kawhi Leonard, because that isn't the case. DeRozan's a terrific scorer and he's a wing, but he's limited. Kawhi Leonard is an elite player. He can rebound, he can defend much better than DeRozan, and he can score at will. If Kawhi goes back to the guy we saw 2 years ago when he was top 5 in the NBA, that's a talent upgrade for Toronto. Ultimately, Kawhi Leonard knows he's got something to prove. He's aware of all the criticism he's faced. Even if he doesn't want to be in Toronto, he goes there for a year with the aspiration to go to Los Angeles the year after. Hey, you go there, maybe the Raptors win the East. He plays superbly. He'll get his fortune with Los Angeles. And Messiah Jury, if the Raptors made an NBA Finals...
You are so optimistic.
The Raptors have never made an NBA Finals, Richard. That'd be enormous for that fan base. We know how great that fan base is in Toronto. If they got to the Finals and Kawhi still left, they'd say, you know what, this was worth it.
But again, he's won a championship. He's been to the finals multiple times. That's not keeping him in San Antonio. Like being there with individuals that he knows and he's played with, and basically the family that has helped raise them, that's not keeping him there. So going to a conference finals or going to an NBA Finals in the East is not.
Why were the Celtics not willing to put Jaylen Brown in a trade, but the Raptors are willing to put DeMar DeRozan in? I don't understand.
I think because Kawhi Leonard provides more versatility than DeRozan. He's an excellent player, perennial All-Star, but he's limited.
You know, we're not talking about why did San Antonio make this move for DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan, I know you're probably upset right now, and I don't want to talk about this like it's done, but DeMar, you're going to a great organization.
Yes.
You're going to a great place. You're going to a situation where people have thrived for many, many years, probably a lot longer than they should be. You look at Manu, Tony, you look at Tim Duncan, their career. This could be a great, great move for you.